All the content contained in this webcast is for informational purposes only. The investments and strategies contained in this webcast may not be suitable for you. Please consult your own independent financial advisor before making any investment or trading decisions. Good morning, traders and investors around the world, and welcome to Wednesday's edition of premarketinfo.com, where we prepare you for the most important hour of the day, the first hour. Well, Dennis, Apple is up 55 points.
Well, we said it was going to move probably 50 points in one direction or another. I got to give you some props, though, because you thought it was going to pop on the show there yesterday. I think it was our 10:30 update where you got bullish all of a sudden. You said that because everybody is so bearish this thing. I'm starting to feel bullish, and and I kind of agreed. Like the sentiment really turned over the course of the last couple of weeks. You had Apple could do no wrong, and then over the course of the last couple of weeks, slowly that sentiment and people are coming in and basically saying that they think the stock. Might actually, you had some analysts actually giving lower price targets. So when that starts happening, the herd was basically out of the stock, and it actually, was down going into earnings. I mean, when was the last time you seen Apple going down into earnings? So, and they come out and they beat, like they always do by a wide margin, and people honestly were expecting them to miss, and that's why you're really seeing a jump here, Joel.
Yeah, I'm not sure what actually turned the sentiment. I mean, obviously they had, the launch of the iPad in this quarter, which, for all intents and purposes, we know the selling was going well, except for the one rumor of it burning people's laps up and whatever. But the street just gets overblown on both sides, Dennis.
Yep.
Looking at it in the pre-market here, Dennis, I tried to do a range on the sheets, and I got a range from 567.69 up to 634.66. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough, but we are making new highs in the pre-market here as we speak. It's 616.80 every time I speak. It's higher. But what I want to keep an eye on here, at least in the short term, is the high after we made the initial dip under 580. We got to 620 and a quarter. Then we had the big sell-off back down to 555 even. And then before the big breakdown, I guess it would be 2 weeks ago on Friday, the 624.70 level. Those are the two levels I'm looking at on the upside. Not necessarily to short, but if you decided to take it home on the close and you're long, those are good levels. Longer term, Dennis, I think 600 is still going to be the level to keep an eye on. Obviously, this upward momentum can continue ever. This might be the biggest up point besides Google, the biggest up move I've ever seen. So I'm sure there'll be some wicked sell-offs in here, and 600 would be a great place to bring in some shorts if it ever trades back down that low. Well, Apple's not the only stock that had earnings today. Looks like Boeing is soaring after its earnings report.
Boeing's doing well here too, Joel. It's taking off, trading 75.10 after the report, but I see a good dozen highs in the mid 75s here. We've topped out at 75.50 in the pre-market, but if we just look over the course of the last month, you got highs of 75.63, 75.81, 75.69, 75.47, 75.47, 75.47. I mean, there's so many highs, littered from 75.50 to 76 bucks. I gotta think it might stall out somewhere in that area, Joel.
Yep, Dennis, I have to agree with you on that. The high in the pre-market has been 75.45. Relatively little volume here, 11,000 shares, but as we noted with Hershey's the other day, that was up on light volume. It's not always the panacea. Looking at it, Dennis, 75.81 was the highest of those highs. So 75.81 to 86 should be good support. If, in fact, we slip below 74.60, I would look for this thing to come back in and perhaps trade in yesterday's range, which is all the way down to 73.74 in order to fill the gap.
Well, hopefully it can hold on to there. Caterpillar won, though, Joel. It was trading up last night after hours. It was trading up pre-market before the earnings announcement this morning, trading over the 110 area, which we had highlighted as being resistance before. The thing came out and they tanked the stock. Actually traded down to as low as 105.99 after the report. It has bounced. It's trading 107.85, so just down slightly right now. I want you to keep an eye on this 110 number, though. You had two multiple highs, 109. 109.73 and 109.77. There's been some institutional selling pressure at 110, and you know those high frequency guys like to lean on those institutional sellers, so they'll probably be selling in the high 109s, and I think that's where you'll find some pretty major resistance.
Yeah, not a bad looking chart on this. We are going to be opening up pretty close to yesterday's low. So if you have some faith in the cat, you are opening it into an area of support. Also, real good support at the 107.26, 107.28 area. That was a double bottom. But just looking at this chart, Dennis, and looking at the earnings play and the news and what's going on in the market lately, this thing looks like it's found a home between 105 and 110 here.
Yeah,
and
it
I
is
think
true.
anywhere it trades in between there, you're pretty much throwing darts. If in fact it could break out over 110, which is with the information that we have so far based on the earnings, it doesn't look like it's going to happen, but you still have to use that as a technical indicator. On the other hand, if this thing takes out the 105, which didn't even hit in the pre-market, doesn't look like there's much from stopping the stock going back to $100.
Yeah, I think that 105 is going to hold. I doubt you see that 105.99 in the pre-market too. I think that was just an overshoot after it reported there this morning. Moving on though, Lilly, LLY, Eli Lilly reported earnings here this morning as well. This stock always overshoots on its earnings too. Somebody bought that thing up at 41.5. I mean, this stock does not move usually on earnings. It moves more on like drug news than earnings. It traded up to 41.5, traded quite a bit of size up there near 40.85, Joel, this morning, but it keeps peeling back. It's peeling back. If you look, you had multiple highs here, 40.64, 40.55, 40.50. I mean, it's predictable that this thing's going to struggle to open over 40.50. So anybody buying in the pre-market over 40.50, I think, is probably out to lunch. I think this thing probably opens somewhere in that 40.50 area, and I think that's going to provide you some resistance. Now, it's just take that out in the regular session, then it can move higher, but it just takes quite a bit of volume to press it through those highs. So that's where you want to keep an eye on, and that's going to be your initial area of resistance.
Yeah, well, obviously the 100 shares that traded at 41.50. Someone's trying to paint the tape there as we.
You're right, Joel. Yeah, that's a great point. You explained that the other day, but just explain that again, just for our newer listeners.
If you're a large institution and you're long a great amount of this stock, and some news comes out, I mean, if you buy 100 shares at some outrageous price, it's not going to hurt your overall position at all. But what it can do is it can scare the daylight of some shorts. Even people that have taken home a small position short, they're going to be apt to do something crazy and try and cover. So when a stock trades with this kind of volume, there's just no doubt that a 100 share print like that, someone is trying to paint the tape, or could be some little day trader that's long 100 shares, a lot lower, and he's trying to get it up there too. So you just
or could just be an idiot.
Yeah, it could just be an idiot, or some clearing firm pulling somebody in. But Dennis, I do like that 40.64 area. I'd say the trading in the pre-market's almost irrelevant in this stock today. Breaking out here above the $40 levels seem to keep a caps on things. So if it comes back to 40, which was yesterday's high, I'd look for good support in this.
GLW, which is Corning, reported earnings as well, Joel. Stock only beat by a couple cents, but I think, sentiment on this one wasn't that great either, so it's catching the shorts a little bit here because it's trading up over $1. Really, really moving higher. I mean, this is a stock that in the last month's traded, down 12.75 up to 14.50, settling at 13.35 yesterday. It's trading 14.39, so let's look at where this thing's trading right now here, Joel. You talk about a stock opening into resistance. If you go back in late January, we had multiple highs of 14.59 and 14.62, and then if you just go to just late March there, we had another high of 14.54. So this is your classic example of a stock opening into pretty big resistance here. Now, always remember, if it takes out those highs, then you want to look out. But it's like trading. Trading's all about risk management, and if you've got a number like that, you can lean on that number saying, look, if it starts making new highs, takes out this 14.62 area, I'm going to cover my short. But if I can get short at 14.40 or 14.50, I'm only risking 20 cents, and I'm hoping that this thing might actually pull back or give back some of its gains, Joel.
Yeah, Dennis, remember when this stock, let's see, what did it trade there, 113.33?
Is that what it traded back in the day? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, that was when like glass was taking over the world, or what? Like, come on, is that really where it traded, Joel?
Yeah, because I remember it
Oh
was
man, I just looked back and look in '01. It did too. You're right. 2000
well,
tech bubble.
2000 it traded up to 113.33, so I don't think it's
Insane.
going to get back up there today. But yeah, I think glass was curing cancer and baldness at the same
Glass was
time or
doing
so.
everything. Glass was
Yeah.
the new iPad back then.
Well, looking at it, I like that call, Dennis. It is opening up into that resistance area. It is trading pretty good volume in the pre-market. We always talk about the formations of the of the stocks and how they trade in the pre-market. This one's been on a pretty straight up decline or straight up rally, except for one dip to 1410. So if you are shorting it off that early resistance, look for support at the 1410 to $14 area. Sure doesn't look like this wants to come back into trade in the yesterday's range, which is all the way at 1350. But of course, that would be monster support. And if you do get caught going through that 1462 level, folks, it's going to 15 because that's the next number that we have. So keep an eye on that level as well.
Not a huge trader, but I want to highlight a big number. Reported earnings this morning. It's SO Joel, which is the Southern Company, utility company there. This 46, I just want to highlight this one number for our listeners here. This 46 is enormous. I've seen institutional selling pressure there. It's offered 45.85. I think this isn't one that trades a lot of volume. There's been no trades in the pre-market off of earnings, so you can see the kind of action here. But 46 is big, so you want to keep an eye on that number there. Obviously, yesterday's settlement 45.87 and the close 45.92. Coinciding with that whole 46 institutional selling pressure that we are seeing. So those high frequency guys will definitely be in those 45.90s. If it takes out the 46 on this SO, then you probably want to cover those shorts. But I'm just saying, there's a nice setup there to try a short off the hop. If it takes out the 46, I would get covered though.
Yeah, do you know what kind of size was there?
Over 100,000, which is big for this stock. That's why I just wanted
Yeah.
to highlight it for our listeners. We like to give you a few trading setups every once in a while too, even on some of these stocks that don't trade as much volume.
Dennis, I mean, isn't this one? This is a utility company that really hasn't fallen off the map like the other ones.
Yeah, it's held up pretty well. I mean, some of these utility companies have held up okay. Like DTE Energy is another one that's actually not that far off the 52-week high, Joel. So some of these real conservative plays, I mean, these are dividend plays more than anything. Like this Southern Corp, like DTE Energy, which I have up there on the chart right now, is a 4.2% yield. The Southern Corp has a 4.27% yield. I mean, that's what these are. They're dividend plays. They're conservative plays where the stocks move around 20 or 30 cents a day, and typically just kind of hang out and keep paying the dividends every quarter. So that most of the market participants in these issues are probably investors that are just holding the stock for the dividends.
Okay, I just want to talk about Walmart real quickly here.
I think we should.
It never did get the bounce, Dennis, that
No.
we thought it might get
No.
off the bribery scandal.
No.
I just want to alert our listeners that we are coming into some major support here, right around the 57.50 level. 57.65 was yesterday's low. Perhaps if we can get another low in that area, Dennis, perhaps get a little bit of a double bottom here because this thing has coming straight down off the 62 level, and always seems to be some kind of bounce in these things. Walmart has not given any kind of bounce, so I want our listeners to keep an eye on the 57.50 level.
Yeah, Joel, this is a stock that hasn't bounced at all. I mean, it's hard. It's almost, like when you get something like this, it's got to filter out because it's hurting the company's the confidence, in the management of the company. When you have a company trying to cover up a bribery scandal, then you all of a sudden have a confidence issue in the company. I think you're having some investors saying, look, Walmart's operating that way or possibly operating that way. I mean, we don't have all the details yet. We don't want to own it here, and I think that's why you're seeing this continued sell-off. So it's hard to just say, oh yeah, this is going to be the bottom and this is going to be, you make a trade, you try to, you can try to pick a bottom, but just make sure you have an out on the way too. So if you do decide to pick a 57.50 bottom, you want to say, look, if this thing gets to 57, I'll admit I'm wrong and I'm getting out, because there's a lot of air. I mean, we've ran straight really from and back in October of last year, we ran up from $52. Actually, it was September of last year. We ran up from $52 all the way to $62. I mean, your real support, if you're really, going to go down there, longer term support was always at 50. I mean, that's if you go 10-year chart, this thing always seems to come back to 50 for some reason.
10-year chart, bite your tongue, Dennis.
Don't look at 10-year charts. But, in 10 years, Walmart has really gone nowhere. And you can think about how many times it's popped up to 58, $60 and come down to 50 again. And it always seems to bounce back off there. But really, back I can remember in 2000, Walmart had a PE of 45 or 50. The PE on Walmart now, let me just check it here. We're getting all fundamental on you here, but the PE is now 12. So here they've grown earnings, substantially, but the stock price has really gone nowhere. And now, you think, okay, well, 62 is starting to look like it actually might, start to break out of here. And they come out, and they have problems, with the way the company's being run with a bribery scandal. So, I mean, it's really hard to say when this stock's going to bounce. So I just want to give that word of caution. So if you are trying to pick a bottom in this.
Okay, just to close the show, folks. Obviously, we're well off the Globex low because of the earnings, but I want to alert our listeners to 1383 and a quarter. That was last Friday's high. The Globex high is just below that. So if we get a pop off the durable goods, look for some resistance to that number. If not, it's 1390. So we will be back with you with our 1030 market update.